All right, so in the last video, we created our little hangman guy and the pole with SVG. We used some line elements, a circle for the head, and so on. So we have some other HTML to add here for like the notification and the area where it's going to show which letters we've chosen, the word, things like that. And then we have to style it as well. So it might take two more videos to get all this done. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to just close up the sidebar here and we're going to continue on with the HTML. So let's go right underneath where the SVG ends. And right here we're going to have our wrong letters container, which is going to show which letters we've chosen that are not correct. So I'm going to have a class of wrong letters container. And inside here, we're going to have an ID of wrong letters. Now, ultimately, we're not going to put anything in here or in a lot of these elements because they're going to be dynamically inserted with JavaScript. However, I do want to put some static stuff in here just so we can see it so that we can actually style it. So let's put a paragraph here and just say wrong. And then underneath that, we're going to have a span that will have some letters that we've chosen that are wrong. Okay, and obviously this isn't going to stay here because this is going to get dynamically inserted, but I do want to see it in order to style it. Okay, so underneath wrong letters, which ends here, we're going to have a class of word, a div with the class of word, and an ID of word. And again, this is something that will be blank, but for now, I'm going to put a word in here. Now, the way this is going to work is every letter of the word is going to be wrapped in a span with the class of letter. So I'm going to go ahead and say class letter times 5. I'm going to create 5 of these. And then I'll just put the word hello in. So we'll say HELLO. And this stuff these divs aren't going to be staying in the HTML. These will get inserted with the JavaScript, but again, just to kind of style them, I'm going to put them in for now. Okay, and then let's see, after that, we're going to now go outside of the ending div, which is the game container. Okay, so this game container ends here. I'm going to go outside of that, and we're going to have our container for final messages. So basically, this is going to be a pop-up, and it's going to say if we won or lost, and it's also going to have a play again button. So we're going to give this a class of pop-up container and an ID of pop-up container. And the reason that I have IDs and classes is because I use classes for styling and IDs for anything that has to do with dynamic elements and using JavaScript. So in here, we're going to have a class of pop-up, and we're going to have an H2, and this is going to be dynamic depending on if we won or lost. We're going to give this an ID of final message, and for now, I'm just going to say you have won. But again, that'll be dynamic. And then we'll have a button. Let's give this an ID of play button, and we'll say play again, and that'll show either way. Okay, and then the last thing we want here is a notification for if we've already used a letter, and we're actually gonna have that slide up from the bottom. So we'll give it a nice little effect. So we'll say notification. So this will have a class of notification container and an ID notification container. Okay, and in here we're just going to have a paragraph, and it's just going to say you have already entered this letter. Okay, so those are all the HTML elements. So now we're going to jump into the style sheet, and we have some base styles, I guess, to add. So we're going to add our border box on everything. So box sizing, sizing is going to be border box, and then in the body, let's add our font family, which I'm going to just use Arial Helvetica. You can use a different font if you want. And like many other projects in this course, I'm just going to display flex so that I can easily center everything. and we'll set flex direction to column, and then just align items to the center. Okay, and then I'm also going to set the height. I'm going to set the height to 80 viewport heights, which is going to be above the notification down at the bottom, and then just set the margin to 0 on the body. Okay, oh, also I'm going to set overflow hidden because I don't want any scroll bars to show. Okay, and then let's see, on the H1, I'm just going to change the margin up to 20:00. And yeah, I think that's good for just the root elements. So now let's style, let's see, what should we do next? Let's do the game container, which wraps around everything up to this point. Because this stuff here, the pop-up and the notification, this isn't going to be displayed by default. That's only going to be displayed at certain points, like if you win or lose, or if you enter a wrong letter, or a letter you've already entered, I should say. So let's do the game container. We'll actually put that right here, game container, and we basically just want to move everything to the middle, add some padding, do 20, 30, and I'm going to position this relative because we have a bunch of stuff inside of it that need to be positioned absolute. And if you want to position something absolute, you know, from the top or right or left or bottom, its parent has to be relative. So for instance, the wrong letters, I want to put that over here. So we need that relative. And then we're going to set the margin auto to push everything to the middle. And we're just going to set a height and a width. So let's say 350 height and 450 width. Okay. So next I'm going to do, let's do the wrong letters container, which is this right here. I want this to display over here on the side. So let's say wrong letters container. Okay, and this is going to be positioned absolute within the game container. And as far as the position goes, I'm going to say from the top 20 pixels and from the right 20 pixels. So if I save that, now you can see it's been moved over here to the side. Okay, and then I'm just going to set, let's do display flex, and flex direction is going to be column, and then I'm going to just text align to the center. Sorry, not the center, the right. All right, and then I just want to increase the font size of the span and change the margin of the paragraph. So this is the paragraph, this is the span. So let's grab that. So paragraph, we're just going to set margin 0.05 pixels, and span, I'm going to increase the font size of the letters to 24 pixels. All right, so that should be fine. Let's do the word now, this right here. So remember, we have a word class that wraps around the whole word, and then each letter has a span with the class of letter, so we have to handle both of those. So word, and we want to align everything horizontally, so display flex. And we're going to also position this absolute within the game container, and we're going to set it from the bottom 10 pixels, and from the left we want to go 50%. Now when you do this left 50%, when it's positioned absolute, the 50% is at the beginning. We want this smack dab in the middle, so we're just going to use the transform property here, and then we can use translate X, and in here we're going to do negative 50% and save, and now you can see the word is right in the middle. So that should be it for word. Now for the letter class, we're going to set a border bottom of 3 pixels solid. We want each word to have its own border, and the color is going to be 2980B9, which is that blue color. And let's go ahead and display as inline flex. Okay, and I'm going to make the font size much bigger, so we'll do 30 pixels. Okay, and let's see, we're going to align items center, justify content center, and we want to break the letters up, so let's do margin 0, let's do 3 pixels left and right, and then we'll set the height to 50 pixels and the width to 20 pixels and save. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And yeah, I think that this whole part right here is all set as far as styling. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and we'll take care of the pop-up and the little notification styling, and then we'll move on to the JavaScript.